chose the wrong side.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be talking to you today about Captain America's Civil War. This is a movie I've been looking forward to for a long time now, and I was more than pleased with the results. Everything in this movie is just so well done and so well executed, and all of the emotional conflicts is well earned. This is easily one of the top 5 MCU movies, if not the best one to date. This movie is amazing in every single way, but don't worry, I'll still try to find something to say. And obviously, spoilers ahead, but if you haven't seen this movie yet, it's Sunday. What are you waiting for? You need to go to the movie theater now and enjoy this film. Now, if you didn't like it, let me know in the comments down below why. Because me, personally, I'm someone that's always trying to find something wrong or something to improve in a movie, and this movie was just solid from start to finish. All of the questions that I developed throughout the film were answered within the next 1 or 2 scenes. It was almost as if it was reading my mind and addressing it while I was thinking it. This is such an impressive feat. I really don't have anything bad to say against this movie. Everything that I do have are just really, really minor gripes where I just wanted more out of something or more of what was already there. One of the things that I like the most about this movie is that you don't know what's happening until the end of the movie. This is such a rare feat. How often do we go into a movie and it's so generic and so formulaic that within the first 10, 15, 20 minutes of the movie, you already know how it's going to end? In this movie, you were on the edge of your seat and you were following along right up until the end when they revealed that Tony's parents were killed by Bucky. This was such a good reveal. Honestly, this took me aback because when the movie started, I was thinking to myself, this was kind of a weird opening sequence, and I was thinking, oh, this is a setup for a future film or some lame scene later on in the film. But no, it was so well done and it was so well placed. They went back to that scene twice for two reveals. The first time was for a red herring, which I thought was perfect, because I honestly was getting excited about the thought of Captain America having to fight off Iron Man while also having to take out a group of elite soldiers. And I'm sort of kind of upset that they didn't go with that. But again, that was an issue that they resolved like in the next scene when Zemo explained his motives, and I understood why they had to be killed. But honestly, I would have been excited for that alternate ending. And they also went back to reveal Tony Parent's death, which I thought was very important and a very good use of the first clip. Because after the airport scene and after Rhodey was injured, it was kind of difficult for me to imagine Captain America and Iron Man still fighting. Especially because in the trailer you saw that scene of Bucky and Iron Man fighting Cap in the snow mountain. But after I saw the clip, everything made sense. It was just a whole lot of fun to watch a movie and not know what's going to happen up until the end. And like I was saying with the red herring, there were things that happened throughout the movie that I was like, why would you do this? Or why make this choice? And then it was explained in the next scene. For example, in the beginning when they killed Crossbones, I was like, why would you kill him? And then I realized that it led to the events within Civil War and it was kind of a parallel to the explosion in the comic book story. Now again, would I have killed Crossbones? Probably not, seeing as he was a great character and would have made a great returning character. But in the end, I understand why it happened. The pace was also great. Keep in mind, this is a 2.5 hour movie and it went by like nothing. In fact, I saw it twice back to back, and the second time was even faster than the first time. There was no wasted screen time in this movie. Everything is nice and tight. Every scene cuts straight to the chase. There is no extraneous material, no useless dialogue, no useless scenes. Everything is just where it needs to be. Everything gets straight to the point. And the only slow part of this film is after the airport battle, and I feel like that's kind of necessary to let the film breathe because up until that point, you're pretty much running at high speed. And you needed a kind of slow moment to sit back and reset to get ready for that emotional reveal in the third act. But this is the best use of 2.5 hours that I've seen in a movie in a long time. I can't believe how much stuff they crammed into it. I remember thinking halfway through the film, or not even 30 minutes into the movie, I couldn't believe how much ground they had already covered, and it just made me more excited for the rest of the film because I knew that they were going to make the most out of the time. Now let's get the airport scene out the way because that's what everyone seems to be talking about, and I don't want to really spend too much time on something that everyone's already discussed. But I'm just glad that they didn't spoil anything in the trailer, story or content wise, because that scene was amazing simply because we didn't know what was going to happen. Because usually a lot of the best sequences within a movie tend to get spoiled there. And I like that they had Spiderman there throughout the whole scene because at first I thought he was going to appear in the end to kind of wrap things up. And then I was so happy to see that he was there from the beginning and he had such a strong role throughout the whole scene. Now, one thing I will say is I wish they didn't reveal Spider-Man in the trailer. Can you imagine that scene in the movie where Black Widow's like, "Where's your secret weapon?" and then you just saw Queens spread across the screen? As someone who's from Queens and represents, I was so glad to see that because they've always said Peter Parker was a New Yorker, but they've never specified which borough. And that would have just made everyone in the theater go nuts. I would have lost it. But they revealed it in the trailer, but I will say that it didn't take away from the moment as much as I thought it would. It was still a very entertaining scene. I gotta give props to the Russo brothers, because to coordinate a scene like this with so many characters and make it cohesive and make it all make sense and give everyone that shining moment, I'm so excited for Infinity War. They clearly know what they're doing here. I mean, there were team ups within each team. It was just crazy. And not to burst anyone's bubble, but I didn't think Spider Man stole the show. I think it was Ant Man. I mean, from the beginning, when he comes on the screen, he's just cracking jokes with Captain America while shaking his hand. And then when he puts on his suit, he's like taking out everyone else, fighting Black Widow, fighting Spider Man. And then when he becomes Giant Man, everything he did in that scene was just, I keep saying amazing, but there's really no other way to describe it. It was amazing. Everyone's saying this is a Spider-Man movie, but those people are just riding the hype. If you ask me, Ant-Man really stole the show. And let's not forget all the other sequences that took place in the movie. Because while the airport scene was impressive, there were other scenes in this movie that were equally impressive, if not more in one or two ways. This is some of the best action I've seen, not in a comic book movie, but any movie, period. And I would also like to give some credit to the stuntman in this film, because my gosh, Scarlett Johansson's stunt person and whoever was the stunt person for Captain America and Bucky did a great job. I don't know if they hold their own Oscars for stunt people, but they definitely deserve the award for best stunt team. And while I'm going off on this tangent, let me also say how cool Falcon was. This is a character who's pretty much a filler B-list, C-list Avenger. I mean, they threw him into the Ant-Man movie because they couldn't afford everyone else. But I mean, in this movie, like at first I didn't really care about him, but now he's one of my favorite characters. Like I want to be Falcon. He has the biggest upgrade from comic book version to movie version. I mean, in the comics, he's just a guy with tights and wings. And yeah, he can kind of talk to birds, and yeah, he becomes Captain America, but I mean, in this movie, like the way that they incorporate technology into his suit, and he has missiles and guns, and the way that they made Red Wing a drone, and he's able to kind of like use X-ray vision and track people. My gosh, I could easily watch a Falcon standalone film now. And that's something that I really liked about this movie. Outside of the airport scene, everyone had their own sequence, everyone had their role. It wasn't like the Avengers and like the B list crew. Everyone was on the same playing field. Rhodey, Iron Patriot, did a great job in this film. I was so glad to see that he not only had lines, but he also had a role in the plot and he also had stakes. I mean, people in the theater gasped when he fell from the sky because they thought he was dead. That's how much people cared about him. I'm so glad to see Don Cheadle have a role because he was only a sidekick in Iron Man 2 and he was a cameo in Avengers Age of Ultron and now he's a full-fledged character. At first I thought the Iron Patriot should have died. I was ready to pull the whole black person dying first card, but then I realized that it wouldn't have made sense. Tony Stark would have been too emotionally distraught to really team up with Cap after that. So I understand why they basically kept him alive. That would have kind of taken it too far, and the events at the end of the movie might not have happened. But yeah, I still think that somebody should have died in this movie. I'm not sure who. Now, like I was saying earlier, let's not get stuck at the airport scene. There were so many other cool scenes in the beginning of the movie. One of my favorites was when Bucky was leaving the apartment with Cap. The way that he used the battering ram and he used the rail to go down 2 stories into another building, that's an amazing sequence that's not getting talked about, and I really enjoyed it. It also introduced Black Panther, who, and that's another character worth talking about. Black Panther and his costume looks great in this movie, but one small gripe that I have is that I feel like ever since they announced Spider-Man, his character was kind of overshadowed, and I felt like they didn't really fix that in the movie. I mean, there's so many characters to work with, it's easy for people to get forgotten, and seeing as this is his first introduction, I just feel like he didn't have the same kind of presence in the film, or he didn't get the same applause that other characters got. And I'm not really sure that has anything to do with the movie or the Russo brothers because he was handled very well. I like the way that he carried himself. You could tell that he was a king of he was a person with royal blood. But again, there's just so much going on. It's hard for him to get the praise that he deserves. And I'm not really more excited about his solo film than I was before. But hopefully I'm alone in this and hopefully other people are excited because I honestly think he's basically like the Black Batman and he's one of the best characters in the MCU. So another big complaint about the movie is the villain being Zemo. Now, I understand where a lot of people are coming from. Personally, after seeing the movie the first time, I thought that there might have been a plot hole somewhere, but the movie is so packed and so dense and there's so many parties involved that I wasn't really trying to do the mental math to figure it out. I will say I thought it was kind of weird how he planned for them to be in that spot at that time all together in order to reveal the clip in the video that ultimately drove them apart. But it didn't all necessarily happen because of him. I don't really see him as a grand mastermind or a grand puppet master pulling all the strings. I see him more as a guy exploiting a situation. He saw what was happening between the government and the Avengers, and he took advantage of it and he made it work for him. So that's why I don't really have a problem with the situation because you believe that this character has the resolve and the determination to see that the Avengers are destroyed. And he's basically a smart person too. So he's just doing whatever he can and using whatever ways he can do it. And I'm willing to forgive anything that people have to say against him because I feel like we needed a person behind all of this to kind of move the story forward. I don't think that the conflict between Captain America and Iron Man alone had enough momentum to carry the film to the end. I knew that there had to be a third party, and I knew that there had to be someone to kind of partially take the blame for what was happening. Because whether or not we think it, we kind of need somebody to be the face of the problem. And for it to be like a faceless UN isn't really enough. Initially, I think there might have even been a version of the script without him, and that they just kind of had the whole Civil War story playing by itself. But then I think somebody realized that they do need a villain and they do need a kind of like a figurehead or like a person to kind of embody the conflict or like to kind of push it forward. And I like that he was an intellectual opponent and not a physical one, because like you said, stronger men than him have tried to kill Captain America and failed. So overall, I think this is easily one of the stronger MCU villains. Because remember, they've had a lot of weak villains in the past, and I think this one was one with a clear motive, and you could actually sympathize with him, and you could believe and understand why he did what he did. He was even willing to kill himself in the end, which makes him that even more relatable of a character. I also like that his character kind of brought the theme of revenge into the story because at first it wasn't very clear, that there were any like overarching themes, but then you realize like the theme of revenge is actually as much a part of the story as friendship. As Iron Man is trying to kill Bucky, he's explaining why he was trying to kill or destroy the Avengers. So I really like the way that they use his character. I think he was well written, he was well executed. You might think he was unnecessary, but just imagine the story without him, and then you'll kind of see maybe one or two scenes that wouldn't have worked because there wasn't another person behind it. Now, one scene that I have a small problem with is the scene between Tony Stark and Peter Parker. Now, these are two of the funniest characters in the whole MCU, and I thought that the scene between them when they were talking would have been hysterical. And it had a good number of laughs, but they weren't as big or there weren't as many as I wanted. And this is a kind of small thing to kind of point out, and it kind of makes sense to me too that Peter Parker might not have found his personality or his humor yet because he's kind of in the same situation as me or the same situation as the audience and that he's kind of in awe and wonder of everything that's happening around him. I mean, the Avengers are on such a big scale, and for him to kind of be around them, I mean, it makes sense that he would just kind of marvel at them and kind of just be surprised at what's going on. So I understand if maybe he wasn't in the right mindset to crack a couple jokes, but I still would have liked if like that scene between him and Tony Stark were like was like the funniest scene in the whole movie because I didn't think it was the funniest scene in the whole movie, and I thought it should have been. But again, that's just a small problem. I'll live. I could go on and on about this movie for hours, but I'm gonna stop here because ultimately I just found this movie thoroughly entertaining, and I highly suggest that everyone go see it twice. I saw it twice, and I got a lot more out of it this second time, and that's coming from someone who liked it the first time. The thing is, the movie is so dense that you kind of don't remember everything that happens, so you have to kind of see it again. And now that you have the context and you have knowledge of what's going to happen, you can kind of put things into place, and it helps you to retain more of the film's plot. So yeah, definitely worth multiple visits to the theater. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Captain America's Civil War. Easily one of my favorite Marvel movies to date. And everything was just so well done. All the action pieces, the emotional conflict that was driving them. I mean, I kind of did want Tony Stark to pull like a, I hate you, Captain America. But in the end, perhaps it's better that they didn't do that. And I wouldn't be mad if they made an extended scene for the airport fight, but now I'm just kind of asking for too much. But honestly, everything about this movie was great. Like what a time to be alive that we're getting this good of a Marvel movie at this late in the game. And I'm just curious to see how they're going to top it with the next one. The only other gripe that I could possibly mention is that I wasn't really a big fan of the whole big white letters across the screen thing. I thought it got really annoying after Cleveland, especially because I didn't even know where half of these places were. So it just seemed extremely unnecessary to me and just completely annoying. And every time it came onto the screen, I kind of rolled my eyes. But I think that was a personal thing. I don't think other people really had a problem with that. Next time I can do it fine. Just put a little thing in the corner, like right here, right there. Thanks. I'd also like to pat myself on the back for not mentioning DC once throughout this whole video, because my gosh, were there a lot of parallels between this movie and Batman vs. Superman. In fact, I might have to make another video to get this stuff off my chest. So those are my thoughts on Captain America Civil War. What do you think? You can let me know in the comment section, or you can let me know in the polls that I've included in this video. Were you Team Captain America or Team Tony Stark? I personally was rooting for Cap. I thought he was right in that you kind of had to stay above the politics if you wanted to really be a superhero in this world. But I also saw Tony Stark's point of view in that they have to be held accountable. And I thought that it was a very nuanced argument, and there were valid points on both sides. Another good thing about this movie. The second thing I want to know is, who is your favorite character coming out of this? I know it's very easy to say Captain America, Iron Man, or Spider-Man even, but I think everyone in this movie was just so good and so well handled that you could easily have other favorite characters. Like I said, I thought Ant-Man stole the show when he turned into Giant Man. That just took it to a whole nother level. I thought Black Panther was amazing. That triple spin kick that he did at the airport against Cap. I thought Scarlet Witch might have been the MVP of the airport battle because every time someone was about to die, she came in and saved them. She did the most damage, and the way that she took out Vision in the Avengers Mansion was amazing. At this point, Scarlet Witch is Bay. Black Widow, like I said, her scene in the beginning of the movie and throughout the movie was amazing. I also like that she played the double agent. I like that we got a little bit of the back and forth there in the movie between the two teams. I thought Hawkeye did a great job. This guy is holding his own now. He went up against Vision and the Black Panther. Didn't necessarily win, but I think that we can't really bust jokes on Hawkeye anymore. At this point, he's shown he's as much a member of the Avengers as anyone else. At first, I was just going to talk about one or two characters, but at this point, I might as well go through all of them. I thought Iron Patriot did a good job. Like I said, the fact that people actually cared that he almost died goes to show how much of a good character he is. I've already given my spiel about the Falcon. Okay, I kind of gone through most of the characters. I might as well go through the rest of them now. Vision was awesome. I mean, I like that we got to see more of his power set here. Who else is there? Bucky the Winter Soldier, obviously he had his own moments too throughout the film. I thought some of his best scenes were in the beginning with the fight in the apartment and in the end with the fight against Captain America. That whole back and forth shield thing, amazing. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like and share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Wow, Screen Junkies are gonna have a hard time doing an honest trailer for this one.
But for real, Aunt May looking good though. I see you, Aunt May.
Aunt May, is that you?
Peter!